Okay, welcome to part 4, where we start to give our flat, chalky look a little bit more of a 3D effect to make it look more realistic. And to do that, let's go back to our layer styles again. So double click on the layers thumbnail here. Here's the layer style palette. Go back to bevel and embossing, and this time turn on texture. And if you click on the texture option here, then normally what you'll see is this pattern here, the default pattern, and it'll look something like that. So you can see that it's bumping the pattern through and creating a kind of 3D effect, but it's not a very good pattern there. There's a very exaggerated version. So let's click on the patterns option and choose something else like wrinkle up here. Click on that one, and you can see there now the wrinkle effect. And we can scale that down, but if we go down too far, you'll notice that we're getting sort of tiling options there. So let's just go up a little bit until it doesn't tile and play with the depth a little. Again, you've got to really wrestle with subtlety, decide what really is working, what's not, what looks like a chalky surface. Okay, that's something that's not too subtle. Click OK, or hit return, and there we have our sort of textured effect. And so you can look at lots of different textures there. You could even create your own and import them as patterns. But that's beginning to give us a sort of 3D effect there. But because it's the same texture up here as it is down here, it's making it look a little bit flat, so we need to play with the perspective a little bit more. The hill's actually sort of undulating a little bit, so it'd be quite nice to push a displacement map through our chalk layer to give it that sort of rippling, undulating effect. So to do that, what we'll do is create a displacement map first of all. So select the background. We need to make sure that our displacement map is the same size as our main image here, so select all, go to edit copy, and then when you go to file new, Photoshop will create a new file which is the same size as the clipboard, and that's what we've got our copied information stored in. So click OK, and here's a file that's the same size as our other image. So let's take the gradient tool now, and as we click and draw, we get a black and a white gradient like so. Now we want this to be a little bit more varied, so let's go and edit it by clicking on the preset picker up here, and now we can choose a gradient which has got a few more stops in it. By clicking down here, click to add a stop, and let's change the color of that one to white by clicking in there, choosing a white, and let's make this one over here black by choosing some black. So we're adding, let's just pop another one there, and you can adjust the way this is working. So this will give us a bit of a bulge here, as you'll see in a tick. I'm just going to pop a little bit of a grayer gradient there, like so. Right, we've modified our gradient there now. Let's click OK, and now when we draw with the gradient tool, you can see in the preset picker up here it's changed. So we'll come from top to bottom, like so. So this, actually, let's go at a bit of an angle because the hill's at a bit of an angle. Let's try that. Okay, and save this as a displacement map. Now we've got to save it as a Photoshop document, and let's call this displace. Let's pop this in the source images folder that I've created for this project. Okay, right, let me show you how that works. The black and the white and the greys will all work differently to push this in a 3D effect and actually make it sort of undulate a little bit. Let's see how that works. Select the chalk layer, go to Filter, Distort, Displace. Now we can choose a different way of displacing it. Let's displace it vertically by about 30, horizontally not too much. We don't want to distort this too much, so I'll just type in about 3. Click OK. Next thing to do is to find out where the displacement map is. Mine's on the desktop. Here we go. It's a Photoshop document. Let's click open, and it will now push that black and white image through this image that we've selected on this layer and create a kind of rippling effect. It's quite subtle, but if I apply it to the face, let me just hide that. Let me show you what it does to the face, and you'll get an idea of how the displacement map is working. Okay, so let's go and displace that. Click OK, displace, open, it should start to ripple and distort it. So you can see there it's altering the perspective a little bit, and that all depends on the style of the gradient map. You can edit it and change it and experiment. So let's go back to this place again. Let's make a tighter gradient this time and see how that works. I'll just hit save, and then we'll bump that through our layer in the same technique. So it's filter. In fact, if I just do displace, it should displace it with the previously used file. Okay, so it's kind of distorting a little bit more. It's obviously taking it a little bit too high up there, so I'm just going to move it down now. I've just squashed a crow, but never mind, I can live with that. So that's distorting it in a sort of natural way that we couldn't really do very easily using other transform options, but we can still hit Command T to transform and alter it that way, just to fine-tune things. Okay, so here's our chalk figure carved into the hill, and in the final stage I'll just do some finishing touches.